Tonight while you sleep, something silent is happening to your body. And depending on the position you are lying in, it is either protecting you or slowly destroying you. I am Dr. Daniel Hayes, and I have spent years sitting across from patients who came to me confused, exhausted, and scared. They were doing everything right, taking their medications, watching what they ate, going for their walks, but something was still going wrong. And when I started asking the one question most doctors never ask, how do you sleep? What position are you in at night? The answers shocked me. Because the position you sleep in is not just about comfort. After the age of 60, your sleeping position can directly affect how well your heart functions, how clearly your brain thinks, how much toxic waste builds up in your body overnight, and how long you actually live. I am not here to alarm you. I am here to give you the truth. The same truth that real, published research has been pointing to for years, but that most people never hear because nobody connects the dots for them in plain language. So before you go to bed tonight, stay with me, because what I am about to share could genuinely be the most important health conversation you have had all year. And before we go any further, I want to hear from you. Leave one word in the comments right now. Tell me, do you sleep on your back, your side, or your stomach? I will be watching those comments. What you tell me matters. The night shift your body runs without you. Let me start with something I want you to really sit with. Every single night, while you are lying in bed with your eyes closed, your body is running one of the most important maintenance operations of your entire life. Think of it like this. Imagine a city. All day long, there is traffic, noise, work, activity. But at night, when everyone goes home, the cleaning crews come out. The street sweepers, the maintenance teams. They go through every corridor, every tunnel, every back alley, and they clean up everything that built up during the day. That is exactly what your body does while you sleep. Your heart takes the chance to beat more slowly. Your blood pressure is supposed to drop. Your kidneys work to clear out excess fluid. And perhaps most importantly, your brain starts its own private cleaning cycle, flushing out the waste products that have been piling up since morning. But here's what most people do not know. That entire process, every piece of it, is directly affected by the position your body is in while you sleep. A bad sleeping position is like throwing a wrench into that maintenance system. It does not stop things overnight, but week after week, month after month, year after year, the damage accumulates. And by the time you notice the effects, the foggy thinking, the breathless nights, the aching back, the waking up exhausted no matter how many hours you slept, the accumulation has already been going on for a very long time. The position most seniors choose and why it becomes a problem. Let me tell you about a patient I will call Margaret. Margaret was 71 years old, a retired teacher, sharp as a tack, proud of the fact that she had never missed a doctor's appointment in 20 years. She came to see me because she was tired. Not the kind of tiredness that goes away after a nap, the deep, heavy, bone tired that clings to you no matter how much you sleep. She was sleeping 8 hours a night, sometimes 9, and waking up feeling like she had not slept at all. She had morning headaches that faded by 10 o'clock. Her ankles were puffy when she got out of bed but looked normal by afternoon. And she mentioned, almost as an afterthought, "My daughter says I snore now. I never used to snore." I asked her one question. "Margaret, how do you sleep? What position?" She thought about it for a second and said, "On my back. I switched a few years ago because my hip was hurting. I thought it would be better for me." And that single answer told me nearly everything I needed to know. Margaret was sleeping on her back. And for a woman her age, with her health history, that position had become her most dangerous habit. What back sleeping does to your body after 60. Now listen carefully here because I want to be very clear. Back sleeping is not evil. For some people, in some situations, it is perfectly fine. In younger, healthier adults, it can actually be quite good. But after 60, the rules change. And here is why. When you lie flat on your back, gravity does something very predictable to the soft tissue in your throat. It pulls everything slightly backward. Your tongue, the muscles around your airway, the soft tissue in the back of your mouth. The result is that your airway narrows. For a 30-year-old with strong muscle tone and no existing health issues, this narrowing might cause a little snoring and nothing more. But for a senior, someone whose muscle tone has naturally decreased with age, whose airways may already be slightly more compressed, whose neck and chest are carrying decades of wear, that narrowing can trigger something far more serious. It can trigger sleep apnea. Now, I am not going to throw complicated medical terms at you. Here is all you need to understand. Sleep apnea means your breathing is being interrupted while you sleep. Sometimes it stops for a few seconds, sometimes longer, and it happens over and over and over again throughout the night, sometimes 20 to 30 times per hour, and you never fully know it is happening because you are asleep. But your body knows. Every single time your breathing pauses, your brain sends out an emergency alarm. Stress hormones flood in, your heart rate jumps, your blood pressure spikes, your blood vessels clamp down. And then, maybe a second later, you take a breath, the alarm fades, and the whole thing resets. Until it happens again, and again, and again. Published research in the New England Journal of Medicine found that obstructive sleep apnea, the kind triggered and worsened by back sleeping, is a direct and independent risk factor for stroke and early death. Think about that. Not a contributing factor, not a possible factor, a direct risk factor for stroke and death. And most people who have it do not know it, because it happens in the dark. Because the symptoms, morning headaches, daytime exhaustion, waking up unrefreshed, look like a dozen other things. Because no one ever asks about their sleeping position. Margaret had never been tested for sleep apnea. Her doctor measured her blood pressure at 2 in the afternoon when she was calm and rested. Everything looked fine. Her chart said she was doing well. But what was happening at 3 in the morning? When her airway was narrowing, when her heart was being shocked awake 30 times an hour, was invisible to everyone, including her. The brain's cleaning cycle and how you are blocking it. Now here is where I need to tell you about something that researchers only recently began to fully understand. And when they did, it changed the conversation around sleep forever. Your brain, as brilliant and powerful as it is, generates waste. Every single hour of every day, just from the normal process of thinking and functioning, your brain produces byproducts that need to be cleared out. Think of it like a factory. The factory runs all day making something useful, but it also produces smoke, scraps, and residue. You need a disposal system to keep the factory running cleanly. Your brain has one. It runs almost entirely while you sleep. Scientists published their findings in the Journal of Neuroscience, and what they discovered was extraordinary. The brain's internal cleaning system works far more effectively in certain sleeping positions than others. Specifically, side sleeping allows this cleaning system to work most efficiently. Back sleeping significantly reduces its effectiveness. Now, one of the waste products being cleared out every night is a protein that has become deeply associated with Alzheimer's disease. When that protein is not cleared out properly, night after night, year after year, it builds up. And that buildup is one of the pathways researchers believe leads directly to cognitive decline. A study presented at the Alzheimer's Association International Conference in 2024 found that people who spent more than 2 hours per night sleeping on their back had a meaningfully higher risk of developing neurodegenerative conditions, including Alzheimer's and dementia. 2 hours, that is all. 2 hours per night in the wrong position. And most back sleepers spend their entire night that way. I want you to let that sink in. Because when Margaret told me she had switched to sleeping on her back a few years ago, and that her memory had not been quite as sharp lately, that she was walking into rooms and forgetting why, those two things were not unrelated. The fog was not just aging. The fog had a cause. And that was happening every night while she thought she was resting. The story your morning tells. Let me ask you something. When you wake up in the morning, what does it feel like? Not after coffee, not after you have had 30 minutes to shake off the grogginess. I mean the very first minute. When your eyes open, before your feet even hit the floor. Does your head feel heavy? Is there a dull ache at the base of your skull? Does your heart feel like it is already beating harder than it should be for someone who is just lying still? Do your hands feel a little puffy? Do your ankles look slightly swollen when you glance down? Are you exhausted? Genuinely, deeply exhausted, even though you technically slept? If any of that sounds familiar, I want you to understand something important. Those are not random symptoms. Those are your body's way of reporting back on what happened while you were asleep. A heavy head and a pounding heart in the early morning can be the direct result of blood pressure that never properly dropped overnight, which, in seniors, is frequently linked to sleep position and undiagnosed sleep apnea. Puffy ankles in the morning that disappear by afternoon are a sign that your body was working overtime to manage fluid levels overnight, because the pressure in your blood vessels never got its proper rest. Exhaustion after a full night of sleep is one of the most consistent signs that your sleep was fragmented, broken up dozens of times without you knowing it, because your airway was narrowing and your brain was repeatedly triggering emergency alarms. These are not signs of getting old. These are specific, identifiable, fixable problems. And a large part of their solution lies in something as simple as the position of your body in bed. What about stomach sleeping? Before we talk about what actually protects you, I need to address stomach sleeping, because a number of seniors do it, usually because they have always done it and they assume it is harmless. It is not. Sleeping on your stomach puts your neck into a forced rotation for hours at a time. Think about that. You cannot breathe face down into a pillow, so you turn your head to one side, and you stay that way for 3, 4, 5 hours. Imagine someone gently twisting your neck to one side and holding it there from midnight until 5 in the morning. What do you think would happen to your muscles, your joints, your spine? Exactly. Stomach sleeping compresses the nerves in your neck and upper back, creates significant pressure on your lower spine, and does the same thing to your airway that back sleeping does. Narrows it, allows gravity to work against you, and sets the stage for the same cycle of interrupted breathing and stress hormone surges. For someone over 60 who may already be dealing with arthritis, bone density changes, or existing neck and spine issues, stomach sleeping is genuinely one of the most physically damaging positions you can be in. And yet most stomach sleepers never connect their chronic neck pain, their morning stiffness, their persistent shoulder aches to the way they spend 8 hours a night. The position that protects you. Now I want to tell you what the research actually points toward. Not what I believe, not what my opinion is, but what studies consistently show. Side sleeping, for most seniors, is the position that works with your body instead of against it. And let me tell you why, in the most straightforward terms I can. First, your airway stays open. When you lie on your side, gravity is no longer pulling the soft tissue of your throat directly backward. The tongue and muscles that narrow your airway when you are on your back are no longer collapsing into the danger zone. The airway stays more naturally open. Breathing is easier. The emergency alarm system in your brain does not get triggered 30 times per hour. Your heart rate stays steady. Your blood pressure follows its natural overnight curve, dropping the way it is supposed to, giving your heart the rest it desperately needs. Second, your brain's cleaning system works properly. Remember that factory and the waste disposal? Research published in the Journal of Neuroscience found that the side sleeping position allows the brain's internal cleaning cycle to work most efficiently. The pathways that carry waste out of the brain are wider, more active, and more effective when you are lying on your side than in any other position. Night after night of side sleeping means night after night of your brain doing its best cleaning work. And that matters, not just for how sharp you feel tomorrow morning, but for how clearly you will think 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Third, your heart gets the mechanical advantage it needs. This one requires a little explanation, but I will keep it simple. Your heart sits slightly to the left side of your chest. The large blood vessels that carry blood back to your heart from the lower half of your body run along the right side of your spine. When you lie on your right side, those blood vessels are uncompressed, and blood returns to your heart easily and efficiently. Studies have looked at this specifically in patients with heart conditions, and the findings consistently show that right side sleeping tends to be gentler on the heart's workload than left side sleeping in many seniors, particularly those with any existing heart concerns. Now, left side sleeping has its own specific benefits, particularly for people who deal with acid reflux, because it positions the stomach in a way that makes reflux less likely. So there is nuance here, and I will come back to that. But in general terms, right side sleeping gives your heart a gentler night. The side question, which side is better? I get asked this constantly, and the honest answer is, it depends on what your body needs most. Here's a simple way to think about it. If you deal with acid reflux, that burning feeling in your chest or throat that gets worse at night, that taste of acid when you wake up, lean toward your left side. Research has consistently shown that lying on the left side positions your stomach in a way that makes it harder for acid to travel upward into your esophagus. Many people with chronic nighttime reflux see improvement within the first few nights of switching to the left. If your primary concern is heart function, if you have been told you have heart failure, if you have any form of heart disease, if your heart has to work harder than it should, talk to your doctor, but the research points more toward the right side as being gentler on the heart's mechanics. If you have no specific cardiac or reflux concerns, if your main goals are protecting your brain, keeping your airway open, and sleeping through the night without interruption, then either side is significantly better than your back or your stomach. Pick the one that feels comfortable. Get a pillow that properly supports your head so your neck is straight and level with your spine, and stay there. The pillow problem no one talks about. Here is something I see constantly that people never connect to their health. The wrong pillow is quietly undoing everything you are trying to do with the right sleeping position. When you sleep on your side, your head needs to be supported at exactly the right height so that your neck stays in a straight, neutral line with the rest of your spine. Think of it like a straight road. No curves, no hills. Just a smooth, flat line from your lower back all the way up through your neck to your head. If your pillow is too flat, your head sinks and your neck bends downward. If your pillow is too high, your head is pushed upward and your neck bends the other way. Either way, you are creating a curve, and that curve, held for 8 hours, compresses nerves, tightens muscles, and can trigger the exact same morning neck and shoulder pain that sends people to the doctor thinking something serious is wrong. A proper side sleeping pillow is firmer, thicker, and designed to fill the space between your head and the mattress without letting your neck drop. Many people find that switching to a properly sized pillow eliminates their morning neck pain within a week, without any medication, without any procedure, without any appointment. Research published in the Journal of Chiropractic Medicine found that changes in bedding and pillow support led to significant reductions in reported back pain and improvements in sleep quality. Something that sounds this simple really does make a measurable difference. What happens to your heart while you sleep in the wrong position? I want to come back to something I mentioned earlier because I do not want it to get lost. Your blood pressure is supposed to drop at night. There is a natural, healthy dip that happens in the hours after you fall asleep, usually somewhere between 10 and 20% below your daytime level. Your heart rate slows. Your vessels relax. Your entire cardiovascular system gets the maintenance window it needs. But research has found that up to half of all seniors over 65 have lost this nighttime dip. Their blood pressure stays high all through the night, hammering away at blood vessels, straining the heart, putting pressure on the tiny vessels in the brain, for 8 hours straight, every night, with no break. Sleep apnea, triggered and worsened by backsleeping, is one of the leading causes of this lost dip. When your airway narrows and your brain fires emergency stress alarms 30 times per hour, your blood pressure cannot drop. The very mechanism that should be protecting your heart at night is being actively prevented. And this is not just about feeling tired in the morning. The data from the New England Journal of Medicine found that people with obstructive sleep apnea face a significantly elevated risk of both stroke and death. Not slightly elevated, significantly. Researchers looking at sleep position and cardiovascular risk in older adults found that certain back-sleeping patterns were associated with a cardiovascular risk increase of around 34% in seniors. When you pair that with the data on brain waste clearance, on dementia risk, on nighttime blood pressure, the picture becomes very clear. What position you sleep in is not a cosmetic question. It is not about preference or habit. For a senior, it is a health decision with real, measurable consequences. Let me tell you how Margaret's story ended. When I asked Margaret to try sleeping on her right side, using a firmer pillow, placing a pillow between her knees to take pressure off her hips, and keeping her neck level, she looked at me like I was asking her to climb a mountain. That's it? Just change the position? Yes, start there. Within a week, she sent a message through my office. The morning headaches were less frequent. She was waking up with less ankle swelling. She still felt tired. There were other factors we needed to address, but the heavy, relentless fog had begun to lift slightly. Within 3 weeks, her daughter called to say that her mother seemed sharper, more present, more herself. We did arrange a sleep study, which confirmed she had been experiencing sleep apnea for years. But even before that diagnosis, before any treatment, the simple act of changing her sleeping position had already begun to reduce the frequency and severity of her airway obstruction. She came back to my office 6 weeks later. She said something I will never forget. I had been thinking about all the years I spent sleeping on my back because I thought it was the healthy thing to do. All those mornings I woke up exhausted and just blamed my age. I didn't know I was doing this to myself. She was not doing it intentionally. She did not know. And that is why I make these videos. The one change you can make tonight. I want to give you something specific. Something you can do in the next 30 seconds before you finish watching this. Decide right now what is going to change tonight. If you are a back sleeper, place a pillow on each side of you before you get into bed tonight. It sounds too simple to work. It is not. Those pillows act as a gentle barrier that makes it physically more comfortable to stay on your side and less easy to roll onto your back in the middle of the night. If you sleep on your right side for comfort, stay there. Make sure your pillow is the right height to keep your neck level. Add a pillow between your knees if you have hip discomfort. Your body will adapt within a few nights. If you are a left side sleeper and you deal with reflux, you may already be in a great position. If you do not have reflux, consider whether switching to your right side feels more comfortable for your heart. If you are a stomach sleeper, I am not going to pretend that changing a lifelong habit overnight is easy. Start by trying your side for just the first hour after you lie down. Use a body pillow for support. Give your body a chance to adjust. And here is the bigger ask. If you wake up exhausted despite sleeping enough hours, if your mornings include unexplained headaches, if your partner says you snore heavily or stop breathing in your sleep, please bring this up with your doctor. Ask about a sleep study. Ask specifically whether your sleeping position could be contributing to your symptoms. Sleep apnea is one of the most undertreated and undiagnosed conditions in seniors. It does not always present dramatically. It does not always wake you up gasping. Sometimes it just quietly steals your rest, your memory, your heart health, and your years, while your afternoon blood pressure reading looks perfectly fine on a chart. What the research is really telling us. I want to close this part of our conversation with something that I think deserves to stand on its own. Researchers have now connected the wrong sleeping position to elevated stroke risk, to cognitive decline, to increased dementia risk, to worsening heart failure, to nighttime hypertension, to chronic spinal damage, to fragmented sleep that leaves the body unable to repair itself properly. None of these effects happen overnight. None of them are the result of one bad night of sleep. They accumulate, slowly, quietly, in the dark. And because they accumulate quietly, because they look like aging, because they mimic a dozen other conditions, because no one thinks to ask about sleep position at a 2 o'clock afternoon appointment, most people never connect the dots until the damage is already done. You now have the information to connect those dots before they connect themselves. A final word and a question for you. I am Dr. Daniel Hayes, and my purpose in making this channel is always the same. Not to make you afraid, not to overwhelm you with information you cannot use, but to give you the specific, real, research-backed truth about the things that are quietly affecting your health, and to give you something practical you can actually do about it. Tonight, when you get into bed, you have a choice. The same position you have used for 20 years, 30 years, the one that may be working against you in ways you have never realized. Or a different position, one that aligns with how your body is actually designed to restore itself during sleep. One change, one night. That is where it starts. Now, before you close this video, I want to hear from you. Leave a comment right now. Tell me, which position have you been sleeping in? And after watching this, are you going to try something different tonight? Because I read those comments. And sometimes, what you write is exactly what the next person scrolling through needs to see. If this video helped you, or if it made you think about someone you love who might need to hear this, please share it with them. Not as an alarm, as a gift. And if you want to keep receiving clear, honest, no-nonsense information specifically designed for people over 60, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Because next time, we are going to talk about something that happens in the first 30 minutes after you fall asleep that is either protecting your heart or putting it at serious risk. You will not want to miss it.